major key. I used to lift it up just to see it.
Hello, this is DJ Dr. Reggie B, and welcome to Turning the Turntables. This is the podcast where I get a chance to talk to DJs, producers, artists, and also just share with you information about the world of DJing so that you get educated. So today, we are here with Brandon Breeze Briscoe.
That's it.
Yeah, man, 3 B's.
3 B's, man.
How you doing, bro?
I'm blessed.
That's what I'm talking about.
Blessed.
So, there's a lot of questions I gotta ask you. Of course, Brandon is, a major producer. Everybody knows him. I was talking to a DJ this morning. He's a house DJ,
Okay.
house music, and he's on FMR radio, every week and whatnot. And I said, I may be interviewing this producer. He said, what's his name? I said, Breeze. Oh, I know Breeze. And then, and then he started talking about Bowie, and then he started talking about one of your early artists that you may get into today. Some of the famous people you know.
Yeah,
So
hopefully he had good things to say.
Yeah. So I said, well, he's coming, so I got to keep this private. I don't want to have a bunch of fans here when you show up.
Not at all. We're not gonna do that.
So, Breeze, let's just start it off. How did you get the name Breeze?
Well, Breeze actually comes from, unlike a lot of nicknames, it's not a self-given nickname.
Right.
Breeze actually comes from my father. Because back in the day, our last name being Briscoe, and you know how they used to talk in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
So a lot of his friends used to call him Breezy Brisk.
Oh, okay.
So I officially got the name as Little Breeze, and I officially got the name because my father and mother used to do a lot of parties at the house.
Right.
And his friends would come over, and I guess they had their own little routine of when they would come in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it happened this one particular day, I think I was like around 5 or 6, as they tell the story, that some of his friends came by, and I answered the door. Wasn't supposed to.
Right.
But I answered the door, and my dad was upstairs. He didn't even know they were there yet. And so when he finally started hearing voices downstairs, he knew it was some of his boys. So he yelled down there to see if they need anything. I'll be down there in a sec.
Yeah.
And I don't know where I got this from, but apparently what happened is they said, "No, Breeze, Brisk, we good. Your son already got us the liquor and he got us the glasses." So I guess the routine was when he had company over, he would go to the bar and get them stuff. And so when they came, I went to the cabinet and got little glasses for him and gave them glasses and gave them the bar. And from there on, it was Little Breeze. So
okay.
That's where the name comes from. My father's a real laid back person.
Okay.
Similar to our
kind of laid back.
Same way. Laid back.
Yeah.
So that's where the nickname came from.
All right.
And
I bet you a lot of people didn't know that.
Nah, not everybody.
So they know it now.
They know it now. The secret is out.
So we got Breeze here. He's not Little Breeze anymore. He's a grown man.
Absolutely.
So he's just Breeze.
Right.
And we're going to talk about a few things. So, what was your first start, into the music industry? What were you doing?
My first real introduction to music, my grandfather from North Carolina had moved to Baltimore, and he opened a church. And he was the founder of a church. And my grandparents had 7 kids, 5 girls, 2 boys. And of course, with the church opening, they were the choir.
Right.
So my uncle was a musician. My aunts, teach music, and they were into music. And so growing up, when we would visit, of course, I grew up in D.C. My grandfather lived in Baltimore, but when we would visit their church, that was music. So it was intimate to me because I was seeing my aunts and uncles sing and perform and everything like that. But then later on, the uncle that was the main musician for the church, he was closer to my age than my mother's age.
Okay.
And he ended up living with us. And he was in a group called Universal Law. And they
was that an R&B group?
It was basically like R&B, funk, They used to open up for groups like, like similar to your Ohio Players. Or,
Okay, so they were legit.
They were.
Okay.
Say
their name again. What's it?
The group name was Universal Law.
Universal Law.
Universal Law. And they were.
Your uncles.
My uncle was the lead keyboardist and lead singer of the group. And so, of course, me being at the house, I would see him and doing his rehearsals, and I was meeting people that were in these different groups, and I didn't know who they were.
Right.
I couldn't appreciate it then, but as I got older, I would appreciate, like, oh, that's that guy from this band or that band.
Okay.
And so that was, my uncle was probably my first major influence of, my idol, music idol.
Right, because you were around equipment.
I was around equipment.
Yeah.
I was around music.
Yeah, it wasn't just listening to the radio or admiring or appreciating from afar, like many of us do.
Right.
You were in the mix. Yeah.
I was seeing it.
Okay.
I seen them do it. I was seeing how they would write songs and come together and collaborate.
So at some point, did you say, I want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my uncle was, like I said, he was my idol. But growing up in D.C., it's funny because growing up in D.C., percussions is big.
Mm-hmm.
And so I gravitated towards the drums. I played percussions first. Drums, roller toms, timbales, congas, you name it, I had it in the basement.
Sound like go-go.
Sound like go-go. That's what it was. And I would play with the different bands and stuff like this. And I think I started, it was around 12.
Okay.
I was really starting to play the drums and everything like that. And then I think my parents started to get tired of hearing the drums and the roller tom from the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandfather was giving away.
So now, you just said something.
Mm-hmm.
Because, sometimes I'm talking to DJs, I say, are you a basement DJ or a bedroom DJ?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes your stuff's in your bedroom, you had a basement.
I had a basement. My room was in the basement. All my equipment was in the basement.
Okay.
My father's record player and all that was in the basement where I was sneaking, listen to the Richard Pryor.
Oh, yeah.
As well as listen to music, of course. But it was in the everything was in the basement. So I would turn on the record player or whatever, the cassettes, and I would play to the stereo.
Oh, so you would jam with the music?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I guess the next level of music really started when my grandfather was giving away one of the old pianos at the church.
Mm.
And he had called my aunts and uncles to see if anybody wanted. Well, my parents volunteered. And one day I came home, there was a piano in the basement along with the drums. And
what kind of piano? Like
just an upright piano.
Okay.
One of those old
One of
upright
heavy
pianos.
ones?
One of the old upright pianos that the churches used to have.
One of 400-pound pianos.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know how I got in the basement. I didn't know. Right. So they had somebody help him get it in the basement. I come home and it's there, and I didn't touch it right away.
Mm-hmm.
But as time went on, I started tinkering with it and playing. Next thing you know, I was kind of like duplicating songs off the radio.
Okay.
So keyboards became my main instrument. Of course, with my uncle's influence and stuff like that. So that's how that whole world came together with music, the introduction of music for me.
So now, and we will talk a lot about Breeze, the producer, but you're also familiar with DJing.
Yeah.
So what was your intro? Have you DJed before?
No. Have I?
Yeah.
Was I supposed to be DJing? No. But did I mess with it when they left it alone? My cousins had a DJ crew. And, because my father was a musician too, he played the guitar. Of course, my mother would sing with my grandfather's church and her sisters and all that. But we had records everywhere. To this day, I have, people think I DJ because I got a record collection everywhere, but it came from my uncles who were musicians and different people in the family. And eventually my cousins were DJs and I would go out with them, but we did something unique with the DJing thing. We would, because I was a musician, we would have drum set, keyboard, synthesizer on stage while they would DJ, and we would play along with it. And it was unique, so a lot of people would invite us. Yeah,
that's ahead of your time there.
Yeah,
I mean, now, DJs are part of a band,
yeah,
because they're doing the scratching and mixing. But what year was that?
You're talking about late 80s.
Okay.
Late 80s. Right. I was in high school, and I was sneaking into the clubs. Because I was playing with some bands by this time, some of the go-go bands. But then every once in a while I was sneaking the clubs with them, and then with my cousins being older, they were DJing, so I would go with them, and we could go to the back door, of course, and they would tell me make sure you don't have no drink or nothing like that, so they don't get in trouble. But so I was experiencing it young, up and down Georgia Avenue, the
So did you learn how to scratch?
I learned a little. I did.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah. You
Okay.
know, I got on the techniques.
Okay.
I did and dab with it, but I was a young buck, so my cousins were the older ones, so
Right.
they did it for the shows.
Right.
But I would mess with it, and I learned the appreciation of how they mark the records, how they would, you know, put an order to their records based on, you know, what show and what type of set they wanted to do. So the appreciation of music for me came from the aspect of knowing how to move a crowd. It was like, that was my first taste of, that was really my first taste of live performancing.
Okay.
You know, seeing them, and you know, the DJ is the star.
Mm.
You know, I don't care if you're at a club,
Right.
house party, or you're at a hotel party.
Right.
What back in the days, my parents used to go, what was it, the cabarets?
Cabarets, yeah.
The DJ was the star, and I would just see, you know, we would go different places, and everybody knew my cousins, and I was like, dang, how did everybody know them?
Right.
You know, they like stars. They weren't
celebrities.
They weren't singing or anything,
Right,
but they
right,
were stars.
Right.
And so that kind of, I got a taste of the live feel with that, and seeing how, like, if the party's starting to get a little, you know, they had certain records they knew that they would save to kind of start the party back up or get them, you know, pull people in. So it gave me a good outlook of, you know, further down the road of production. What BPMs really kind of get people grooving, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
What's that number what's that tempo that gets people wanting to dance versus sit down, you know? So it gave me appreciation for the DJ, even to the point that a lot of times when I learned how to produce, I still, especially if it's an up-tempo song or supposed to be a song.
When you say up-tempo, what BPMs, roughly?
Anything over that 95. 95 was a nice little groove,
Right.
but that 110, that 120, you got them going.
Yeah.
And you know, go-go kind of confused you a little bit because go was a little slower. So go was that groove, but sometimes they would have the up tempo. But then learning the DJ side as far as the parties and the dancing, you know, you would learn you had to push that tempo up a little bit. So I would learn that. But even, you know, once I start producing them, and I thought I might have a track that had that dance feel, I would still call some of the DJs I would know because they have an ear for it, and they would know. But is this track going to make the crowd, you know, groove? Or what should you do? Should the drum stand out more, or the melody and stuff like that? So I was still, that's how, even to this day, I still test the ear of a DJ if I do an up tempo to find out if it's.
Thank you.
If you want to know if it's a party groove, you got to get to the ones that know how to make the parties move, right?
I've tried to tell some people about that because back in the day, old school record pools, we would get like 10 records in a sheet,
right?
And we would have to mark them, you know, basically. You know, 1, 2, 3, you know, 1 being hot, 2 so, 3, you know, crush it and flush it.
Right.
And out of the 10, maybe 2 would make it, you know, and the other 8 definitely didn't.
They make it.
But yeah, they all of the I don't want to say the producers, but the A&Rs and the houses out there like that, they would bring them to the clubs and let the DJs, matter of fact, Full Force, before they had Lisa and all that other stuff. They did the same thing. They brought something to the club and gave me $20 to play it. I'm like, I listened to them like, this ain't gonna work. They said, play it. I said, I tell you what, I'll play it. If the crowd walks off the floor, I'm pulling it off real quick. So I had another record ready. Played it. I think it was 10 seconds, 15 seconds. People just walked off the floor. And I told them, you know, but they didn't believe me.
Were they there to see it?
Oh, they were there. They were there because they came to the booth with the record.
Gotcha.
And $20.
Right.
You know.
Gotta pay the DJ.
And then a few years later, I wonder if I take. I'm like, okay. They went back to the drawing board. You know. So.
I think the DJs are so instrumental. DJs, you know, when records were being broke, it used to be at the radio stations, but then it became the DJs. You know, guys were going to the DJs like, break this record for me, introduce this to the world, and it's risky. Even as a producer, when I'm working with artists, a lot of times, you know, they want to take it to the clubs, and there's 2 elements that they have to realize is that people are usually dancing to stuff that they're familiar to, and so if you bring something in there and you give it to them, it better be a surefire because they're not familiar with the lyrics, they don't know where the song's going to go. The DJ risking losing the crowd and all that, and you know, but if you can get people to still groove, then you know you got something because they're not familiar with that.
I did a party in New York Same thing, that Lisa song.
Right.
When it first came out, I had to do a show in New York, and I was living in Virginia, Hampton, Virginia.
Yeah.
And when I got to New York, they said, Reggie, you got to make sure you have this music. So I went to the store, got the music, played it. And DJs don't like playing the same song 3, 4, 5 times a night.
Right.
But they wanted to hear it that bad. So I get back down to Hampton, Virginia, and I'm like, I got this hot song.
Okay.
I'm going to play it. Everybody walked off the floor.
Well,
And I'm like, and I got on the mic, I said, look, first of all, it's me here, right? I said, I'm like, but you know, the interesting thing is 3 months from now, 4 months from now, y'all gonna be flying on that floor like bees to honey, and I'm gonna be looking at y'all like, what's up? Right. So you're right.
Yeah. People just, it's funny that, I don't know if it's a clone mentality or whatever, but I just think sometimes if you don't know the lyrics or you don't know the groove, and you might just feel like it's foreign and that before you give it a chance.
Right.
You know, there's certain, but I guess it still stands to the day. There's certain songs that come on the radio, and the second I hear it, I'm like, that's hot.
Yeah.
And then there's other songs that I have to hear a few times, and next thing you know, it grows on me.
Bruno Mars, Uptown Funk, when it first came out, I heard it. I'm like, I called my cousin up in Baltimore. I said, check this out, man. He's like, I ain't never heard it before. I said, this is gonna be a hit. I was like, this is bad. And it was a few months before it really started hitting the radio. And of course, you know, there it is.
He took a formula. He had a proven formula, right?
Yeah.
Proven formula is just how fast will it catch on to other people. And I think, do you think that DJs pushed it more because they were more familiar with where that formula came from, and the people just started getting into it?
I don't think so.
Demographic wise, the people
I don't think so.
Were younger that really his followers are young.
I think it was more the syndicate. You know, you know more about this than I do. But if he's part of that crew, that game, that record company or whatever, they're gonna promote it.
They can push that. Yeah.
And because you know you've heard a lot of stuff go out there. Like, what is that? But they put a lot of money into it. They market it. So I'm not sure if that's kind of what happened, but I think it did catch on.
Yeah.
Now there are a lot of other songs on that album that people seem to like more than that one. I like that one. You know?
No, that's a groove. That's a groove.
But I think in 2020 it's just different than it was back then. Yeah.
I think.
And even in regions like geographic, like in New York, certain clubs in New York, as long as it's got a good beat and it's a quality song, they'll dance to it.
Right.
You know, certain clubs, especially like house music, you know, up tempo, they will dance to it because it's good. They just like good music. Then you go somewhere else and.
Well, New York, that's interesting because you really have certain regions that I've found where guys just don't dance. You know, New York, you want to get, especially if it's house, soulful house music, everybody's dancing. Atlanta, a lot of people dance. Right. Guys dances and that. DC is not one of those places that everybody dances. Guys are a lot more cool to stand on the wall. They love. Now here's the thing, DC loves music. Right. Especially live music. Right. But as far as the whole, does everybody dance in the clubs all the time? Not all the time. There's certain songs, of course. DC, we gonna dance because the ladies are on the floor. Right. Like you know, the guys. That's probably like 50% of the reason why guys get on the dance floor. But you know, that's something that I used to hear the ladies could complain about in this area.
They still do.
Yeah.
I DJ'd a party one time, and a couple girls came up to the booth and was like, you know, how come, you know, your brothers won't dance?
Right.
You know, so I get on the microphone like, come on, brother. So I jump off the stage. I get in the middle of the dance floor. I grab like 6, 7 ladies. I'm dancing. I'm like, look, I gotta make this mix, but I will dance with you for at least a minute and a half.
So you know, you went beyond the Call of Duty and became the party starter.
Hey, but I don't mind that. I like to dance, so I get out there and jam, and then I start calling, brother, take this one, you get over here. Take this one, you get over here. But you're right. That's this area. You know. Yeah. So. Speaking of clubs, talk to me about clubs. You know a little bit about clubs, right?
I know a little something about clubs. I love, and maybe that goes all the way back to how I got turned into Lil Breeze. Right. I love entertaining people. You know, playing the host, and so I ended up being a club promoter. And being a club promoter, you better have the right DJ with you. some good DJs and stuff like that. And I was blessed to be on certain club promotion teams that were locked in to the vibe of the city. But you know, my appreciation with parties and before clubs, to tell you the truth, my appreciation for parties really started with my parents. Honestly, they would have. I don't know. I guess I might get in trouble for this, but anyway. But they would have.
They gonna see this, huh?
Yeah, you know, I love seeing it. I think I can outrun my father now. My mom's not gonna mind too much, but no, they would have parties, and the parties were heaven and hell parties. That was the name of it.
Heaven and hell.
Heaven and hell parties.
All right, so you gotta elaborate.
All right. The heaven, you know, they had a house, and upstairs would be heaven. In heaven, upstairs, you had the appetizers, your wine, your cheeses, maybe your champagne, your little light foods, and you had music playing up there, but the lighter music. Downstairs was hell.
So they had two different types of music going on?
Yeah.
Okay, so they had like serious juke joint stuff in the basement.
Yeah.
Downstairs.
Yeah. And I would sit there as a little kid in my pajamas and sneak downstairs and
watch it,
sitting from the steps, being like, "What's going on?" So you see your aunts, uncles, you know, your older cousins, just friends of the family come in, but it packed.
So now you out there doing clubs.
I started doing parties myself as a teenager at the house.
Okay.
So
you making
all
money?
my cousins, everybody. I wasn't smart enough to make the money.
Oh, so you're doing free parties?
I mean, I had the equipment. I had the equip music down there, and so what would happen is, you know, my house was, I would play ball.
Right.
So all my friends would come over. Mm-hmm. So my house was a little gathering spot a lot of times.
Right, then
so
turn it into a party.
I would turn it into like these girls, the guys, whatever, y'all should come over, and we turn the music on and we party, and then it would eventually turn, everybody would ask me, you doing another party?
Right.
So that ended up doing the parties. And so later on, by the time I was maybe a senior, I was like, y'all gotta give a little something.
Man, I was making 50 cents a person.
I wish I had you around for my manager.
I was making 50 cents a person.
Yeah, I wish I had you for my manager.
I was partying.
I would have been on the come up a lot earlier. I would have got it a lot earlier, but that's what made me want to do it, and then I ended up doing.
So then, when you did parties, did you DJ your own parties, or
I would DJ. This is before my cousins had an official DJ crew. Mm-hmm. They would DJ too. We would have the music, but you remember back in the day, like what I would also do is I would make my own mixtapes. So
a real mixtape.
A real mixtape.
So if you could reach down right there, you may see something. You see a tape?
A tape?
Yeah, right up in here.
The cassette tape?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Matter of fact, no, I'm gonna get it because we on camera.
Let me see.
So let me see if you remember.
Any
of these here.
TDK tapes and all that cassettes. Boy, you get mad. This thing got twisted.
Get the pencil out.
Get the pencil out. Or you have to cut that thing. Get some. Some masking, a little clear tape, and cut it perfectly because you ain't want to get jammed up.
So you know about mixtapes,
man. Let me tell you something, man. Of course, I had my.
We gotta show this to the camera. These are mixtape. These are tapes.
Yeah, they don't know what that is. They probably, that's these youngins now. They probably think it's a box of bubble gum or something like that. But no, that's it, man. I would have that, and I would label them. I would have and you know, see, back in the day, we appreciated slow music.
Oh man!
Right, and so you would have my whole. So this is my pay. Here's my pay right here. It wasn't so like I didn't make money for the parties until like my senior year. I was smart to start telling people like bring some money or drop, you know, give a little donation, whatever. But the payoff was that red light, you know, and you wanted to get that dance, and I would make sure that we had plenty of slow songs queued up.
Yeah.
You know, because we appreciate it. We Atlantic Star and Switch like that. Switch. Oh yeah. That's on one hitting there right there. If that's on, you better. And see, the advantage that I had is I knew when the slow songs was coming on. So I would make sure whatever shorty that I was trying to get that slow dance in. Right. When that song right before it was about to come on, I would make sure she was in the proximity of me, that I ain't have to wait for.
Because this was on the mixtape, so you knew it was coming.
Yeah, I knew it was coming.
Yeah,
I knew it was coming. I'm gonna get that slow dance.
I got you.
Red light, switch that blue.
Man, I used to have like 20 nothing but slow music
lined up.
Right.
I made
Man, you bring back memories.
I would have a whole tape of slow jams. I mean, you had to have that when your girl was going.
I had made. So you familiar with the TX 1000R reel to reel?
Oh yeah.
I made a 10-hour slow tape.
The reel to reel.
Reel to reel. Yeah.
I used to have to cut them.
Now that's a mixtape there.
That's a whole nother level of mixtape.
Yeah, they had the little aluminum foil tape thing. You cut it on the hand.
Cut it, splice that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was, in production. That was the first. When I came into production, the reel to reels.
So for the people who are watching, everybody don't know what you mean by when you say production.
Music production. Okay. So when I would do the clubs and everything like that, but of course I was still playing music, play for bands and stuff like that. So I would go to recording studios, and during that time they still had the reel to reels. They were switching over to the ADAT machines and DAT machines, but the reel to reels were still prevalent. They were on their way out of the industry, but they were still prevalent, and that was a nightmare, man. You would hope that your artist, recorded perfectly. Like we got to splice this. Dang. So yeah, getting that raised, you kept
happy with DATs and digital.
Oh yeah, that was
now you just.
Oh, that's a whole nother. These producers now don't understand the appreciation they should have for technology at all.
Man, I was telling somebody about the pause button mix.
Yeah, oh yeah, hit them with it. Absolutely. Yeah, but it gave a sound that you just can't duplicate.
Right.
That analog, that reel-to-reel sound, and that was the sound that you would, when I started doing clubs. I guess I started doing clubs as far as promoting clubs maybe in the mid-90s.
Okay.
So, when that good R&B was really like the Jodeci's and, the Drew Hills and all those type groups with Guy and all that. And, so when I was going in there, I knew what the music was supposed to sound like.
Right,
I had a good feeling for it. But it was still something that I appreciated from the DJ of how to keep it going.
Right.
Keep that part. It's one thing to know how to make a song, but playing those songs back to back to back and knowing the vibe of the people, being able to play to your crowd, that meant a lot. And so, you had to have a hot DJ with you. And,
yeah. I tell a lot of artists, who listen, that when you make a record, have a DJ in mind.
Absolutely.
Because we're listening for certain things for us to cut it up. Back in the day, we would find the breaks and to the bridge and just and cut it up. And so if you making something and you put a little bar or measure in there that a DJ will catch, man, we're gonna take that thing
you flip it
and eat it up.
That becomes 2 minutes of the song, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Break beats.
Absolutely.
So now, last time we talked, you was considering your own club. COVID then came, man.
COVID hit, man.
I was thinking about you. I'm like, man.
Well, here's the deal. It's me and my partner got the venue. We have a live venue,
right?
In Baltimore, not in the DC area, but this one's in Baltimore. And like you said, we had artists lined up to perform. We already had retainers and everything like that, deposits and everything. So we got the building at the end of 2019, and that COVID hit, man. So all the shows that we had lined up, we had to cancel it. So we had everything lined up from live shows as far as artists performing,
right,
as well as specialty nights that we had DJs that were going to perform to a certain crowd. And we had to cancel it. Hopefully things get back on track, but the building's still there.
Right.
Things are loosening up a little bit, so we might rent it out for people who want to do like speaking engagements or something like that. But we haven't pushed the live venue or parties yet, just because that's an investment. If you put the money out there, or people want to come in and really you're going to get your returns. So,
that's true.
So it kind of had to like flip it, but it actually turned into, you take lemon and you create lemonade with, and then actually gave me time to develop a TV show.
You got a TV show now?
A TV show on ABC.
Really?
Yeah.
How come I ain't know about this? Tell me about the TV show. This little podcast here. So tell me about the
TV show. My love in music production has always been for the new artists.
Right.
I like developing new artists, and that's what I would do when I started working with the record labels, or that's what we would do when we did contracts with the record labels and stuff like that. So my love for the independent artists, which is now, you know, the independent artists before were artists that you were grooming to go to the record labels. But now not so much so. It doesn't have to be that.
Right.
It's just the independent artists and helping them get out there and get their voice, because now they don't have to ask somebody to do a website or get marketing done. They can get a lot of this stuff done on their own if they invest in themselves. So my whole thing, even with the venue, was featuring, the live venue was to feature independent artists.
Right, yeah, you did tell me about
And so with the TV show, that's what the TV show is about.
So how can we tune into this TV show?
Independent artists. Well, it started it started after COVID, of course.
Okay.
Because I was like, we gotta do something with the relationships that we have, and I was able to pitch it to one of my partners in ABC, and they gave it thumbs up. So the actual show on ABC network comes on in the Baltimore region, Howard County, and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then we're going to expand to the whole DMV. Then we're going to hit, you know, we're working on Atlanta right now, and we're working on the Philadelphia area too.
Okay.
To get it stretched out.
My hometown.
Yeah. You got to go to Philly, the heart and soul right there.
Yeah.
But hopefully within, hopefully by the top of the year, we're in those regions.
So now, what's a typical show look like?
Typical show, well, we feature independent artists' music videos.
Okay.
But it has to be high quality.
Right.
Because that's who they're competing against. That's one thing I've always told independent artists. Don't worry about who's hot in your city. Or don't worry about being the hottest thing in DC. That means nothing.
Right.
You're competing against Beyonce, Jay-Z, Rihanna, Lil Wayne, Drake, because you're trying to take somebody's either playlist and get added to somebody's playlist, and that's who they're listening to.
Right.
Quality of video, you're getting to get somebody, if it's a radio station, you're getting, are they going to take one of Beyonce's spin away so that you're featured on that show?
Right.
So that's who you're competing against.
Right.
So your look, your graphics, your music, everything has to be to that level.
Right.
And so the same thing is, you know, and you have to make, listen, the days of, you know, I'm not the guy that's going to give a trophy for everybody participating.
Right.
That's not how you get better. You know what I'm saying? All kids, if this team loses, you don't get a trophy.
Period.
That's life, right? If you don't do your job, you're not gonna get paid.
Hey.
If everybody thinks they're supposed to get a trophy from this age up, no,
If you go
can't.
fishing and you don't catch no fish, you don't eat.
Cast your reel on the other side or something. And so the show is really featuring some of the top artists around the country. Not even the country. We actually have artists. We've actually had some artists from Africa.
Okay.
With Afro beats. We've had some artists from Europe, UK, submit videos, and so you're getting.
This is good.
You're getting a little bit of everything on the show, and you're really getting a glimpse of your future household names.
Right
Now, because their videos are that good, their music is that good, it's quality music, and that's what I love about these days is you don't have to be. You don't have to listen to the radio to hear quality music.
Right.
Because now you can go to the streaming.
It's like when we were talking about Full Force.
Exactly.
And Lisa,
exactly.
you know, 3 years later,
Bang.
you know,
Yep.
and now, you know, they making money.
And you're sitting there as a listener that when you first played that music, and everybody walk up the dance floor, they're sitting and be like, I think I remember when that was played.
Right.
And that happened. You know what? That's funny because that happened to me with Jill Scott. I was with Frat, with some Kappas, and we had just went over well, we didn't just go. We were traveling up and down to Cheney University. And so some of the bros, we were having fun, but going to parties and doing the whole thing.
Cheney and Lincoln.
And you were getting the vibe of what was going on in PA versus the vibe down in DC.
Right.
And I remember the bros, we went to this event during the daytime, a daytime event, and they were having spoken word.
Right.
You know, and that was the first time I seen people start doing this. And I'm somebody was finished, everybody's like, what the hell's going on? What's going on? But I'm vibing with Philly because of the soul of music. So they would have musicians play in between. And some of these people would do spoken word, and musicians would just, I think they had a stand-up bass, a piano player, and a drummer and stuff like that. And they would catch the vibe with them spoken word.
Standard trio.
And you would see that. And all of a sudden, there was this sister that came up, and she started doing her poetry. And then between her poetry, she started singing. Well, that's what caught me, because I'm like, yo,
girl got a voice.
Listen to her voice.
Right.
And then maybe take a snapshot of her face. Well, fast forward like 2 years later, I remember listening to the radio and I hear this voice, and I'm like, I know that voice.
Right.
And it was Jill Scott.
Okay.
So I had seen Jill Scott before she was, you know, with the Roots. Put out there. And I remember, you know, the whole thing. And then when I saw the picture of the artist, I like, that's her. And I called Fred up in Philly and like, yo, you remember we went to this thing before we partied that night? And I'm like, this is that chick on the radio. He's like, yeah, she did I think it was her debut with the Jill Scott. I think it was in self-titled, right?
Right.
And so that's how you get introduced to things, man. So you just never know.
True.
Who's going to be a breakout star? You don't know, and that's why I love working with them.
We're going to talk about breakout stars because you know a few. So I just wanted to pause and say, this is Turning the Turntables, and we have Brandon Breeze, not Lil Breeze, Brandon Breeze Briscoe here, major producer, and just all around good person, businessman, been in the industry for many years. Heck, he started in the clubs when he was 5 years old. at the Heaven and the Hell.
Heaven and Hell party, man. Oh man, I'm gonna do one of them parties one day.